this is Britt Caswell with another example video. In this video, I'm covering lesson 2-1. This is example 1 in the SavvasRealize Algebra 1 textbook. So in this example, we are talking about Slope-Intercept Form and how to graph an equation that is written in Slope-Intercept Form. Slope-intercept form is probably the most common form of a linear equation that we'll see. So it's really important that you guys are practicing and making sure you know how to deal with it. So let's talk about the general form of the equation. This is y equals mx plus b. Now the m here, this stands for the slope of the line. Okay. Sometimes you guys might see the equation for slope as rise over run, or you might see this equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Those equations are both saying the same thing, but one with words and one with variables. It's important that this variable equation is the one that you remember when we get to point slope. Now the b value in an equation, this stands for the y-intercept. So what that means is that that is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So in order to graph from slope-intercept form, we're going to go ahead and we're going to graph the y-intercept and then use the slope to find a second point, because it always takes 2 points in order to graph a line. So let's take a look at this example. So the number here in front of x, or the number multiplying to x, that is our slope. Okay, so we'll use that number second. Our y-intercept on this equation is a positive 2. So I'm going to start by going up 2 on the y-axis and putting a point. So once I've graphed my first point, then I can use my slope to find a second point. So I am going to rise by 4 and run by 5. So from this point, I go up by 4, and then I go to the side by 5. And that puts my second point here. And then your last step is just to draw the line. Now, with some lines that might have like smaller slopes, it can be easier to draw the line if you use the slope multiple times. So like I could fall by 4 and run by 5. And do you see how my line isn't quite going in the direction I need it to? So the more points that you put, perhaps the easier it is to draw the line. So I definitely encourage you to maybe draw multiple points. Now remember, whenever we make a point on a graph, you generally want to go ahead and label it. So this blue point is at 0, 2. Okay, this one here, right, it's going 5 units to the on the x-axis to the right, and then it's going up by 6 units. Now a good thing to point out, do you notice how when we rose by 4, I added 4 to the y value? And when I ran by 5, I added 5 to the x value. Alright, so you can use your knowledge of the points to help you in order to label where they'd be. So this one that's at 0, I ran by 5, so I could subtract 5 from this 0, and I know this one would be at -5, which I could count on my graph. And the y value here, right, I fell by 4. So from 2, if I subtract 4, I'd have negative 2 and would have this point as well. So just a little reminder about slope. There are 3 types of slope, okay? So let me draw some. Actually, there's 4 types, aren't there? So if you have a line, that's going uphill from left to right, this is going to be a positive slope. Okay, that means just like the slope here that was 4/5, it's going to go uphill. If you have a line going down like this is going to be a negative slope, which we're going to see in our next example. If you have a horizontal line, there is no slope. And so what that means is that the slope would be 0, so the x term wouldn't be there. And then if you have a vertical line, you have what's called an undefined slope. And what happens there is your x values are both the same for whatever 2 points you choose. So you'd be dividing by 0, which is undefined. So this line usually looks like y equals some kind of number. And then this one usually looks like x equals some number. Hopefully we'll talk about slope a little bit more later, but I believe you guys probably have learned about this before as well. Alright, let's try another example. So on this example, the number being multiplied to x, my slope, is negative 3/4. That means that once I know where my point is, my first point, I'm going to fall by 3 and run by 4. And then here, my y-intercept is at negative 5. So whatever number is in front of the y-intercept, or I'm sorry, whatever symbol is in front of the y-intercept, that's how you know whether you're going to go up on the y-axis or down on the y-axis. So if you notice on here, on the first example, the +2 made me go up. Here, the -2 is going to make me go down by 5. And that's where I'm going to start. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's go ahead and label that point. That's at 0, negative 5. So now that slope is a negative value. So I know my line needs to go downhill like this. Okay? We just have to figure out exactly how much. So from this point, I'm going to fall by 3. And then I'm going to run by 4. And that gives me this green point right here. The ordered pair for this point, right? I went to the side by 4, so 0 plus 4 is 4. And then I went down 3 from negative 5, that's at negative 7. Alright, so I have 2 points in, can draw my line. I have a really hard time making my lines nice, so I'm going to go the other way. Okay, I'm going to rise by 3 and run 4 to the other direction. Okay, that gives me the point negative 4, negative 2. And so that gives me more points, so it's easier to draw a straight line. And there we have it. So that is how to graph a line from slope-intercept form. Until next time.